Okay, so in the last video, we had created a new route in our application where we were supposed to create our event add form. So why don't we do that? So let's go to our code editor. Inside app models, I have event. So I'll set this, and in here, let's first create our migration file and the database structure. So this is my migration file. I have taken certain basic fields: event name, a contact person, email, allowed participants. We will keep the value to some numbers more than 0 if there is limited seats, and if it is 0, then we will consider it to be an unlimited participant event. And registered participants is a count which defaults to 0 and it will increment. Okay, so with this done, I think what we can do is run php artisan migrate, refresh, seed. I have a shortcut for this which is mrs, so I'll run that and I'll have a empty database. I am running SQLite, so I have a file which has all the information. I won't be able to see, I think. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to do that right now. I will use Tinker if there is anything required. Anyway, so I'll close all these files, and now I have this components form, and inside resources, views, Livewire, I have this blade file as well. So let's start putting some markup to get the basic form in place. I'll place in the markup and then I will come back. Okay, so I have this basic markup in place, which is I have a card content. Inside that I have form group for event name, contact name, email, and allowed participants. If I go to browser, I see this. Okay, there's some problem. There should have been some padding. Card header, card content, strange. I'll check that. But also one more thing which we need to do is form. We need the form tag because we will be working on a form submission. Okay, and this is header, this is fine. If I'm not wrong, that's card content, or is it what? Card content? No, then is it card body? I think it's card body. Yeah, so this gives me this nice little padding on the left and the right, and I have this small little node which says that keep the value to 0 in case it's unlimited. So yeah, this is the basic form. Haven't done anything much. Okay, so the first thing which we want to do is define the submit for this form. And for those of you who have worked with Vue, I think you will be very familiar with something like v on submit, or maybe @submit, right? So with Livewire, the syntax is wire submit prevent equals. Okay, so with this, I guess I can name any function. So I will name it submit. Wow, that's quite unique. And I'll have a function submit in here. We need certain public variables which will be binded to this model. So we have name, contact email, and allowed participants. So public $event name. Okay, so I have these 4 public properties which are going to be binded here. So I can do multi-select in here and wire model equals, and then this one will be event name, contact name, and the last one is allowed participants. So with this, I think our form is now wired up with this, this class. So in here we will do event. Oh, that's the wrong event. You have to be a little careful because we have a model which is event and there are lots of classes which is also event. So where is the event which we want? That's really strange. Is there some problem with the namespace? No, it's not. Event create, and let me import the class. Somehow it is not doing that. App models event. Wow, for some reason it is behaving a little weird in here, but let me see. Maybe it's PHP Storm which needs a restart. Maybe I'll do it later. This event name, how many keys do we have? 1 2 3, 3 more. So 1 2 3. Next one is contact person, contact email, allowed participants, contact name, contact email, allowed participants, and return redirect route home. So as you know, any function which is triggered from here, by the way, we have a prevent, which is basically the JavaScript equivalent of event.prevent default. So we are submitting the form and we are saying that we need to run event.prevent default so that the page doesn't refresh, and on form submit we are calling the submit function which is inside our PHP class. This is the submit function. It is creating an event with these values which are these public properties, and then I'm redirecting the user to the home page. So let's see if we are able to do that. And oh, by the way, I think I forgot one thing which we haven't done, which was I forgot to tell you. Inside layouts, I forgot to add the styles and the scripts, which is a very important part of our setup, otherwise nothing will work. I mean, the form will render, but the JavaScript behavior will not come in, and that's the reason these are required. So I have done that, and unfortunately I'll have to refresh this and I'll have to type in again F10 submit, and I'm redirected here, which means things have gone well. If I run Tinker and do event, okay, I'll have to do app models event get to array. I get this. So yes, our form is working properly. Let's try one more. And let's say this one is 0. I hit save. In the query we have 2 entries. So yes, we have created the form. Now let's look at creating a page where we can see all the events listed, and we can click on them to also see the users who have registered to that event. So yeah, let's get started with the listing page. Okay, so to list all our events on one page, why don't we create a component which will be rendered here? So in here we have this home blade, right? First of all, we will make this a 12 column thing so that it spans the entire width, because we will be showing a table. And let's just get rid of a few things from here, or rather only this part. Okay, so I have a link which is allowing me to add an event, and then we will have a table here which will show the list of events. So for that, we will create a new component. And we will name this event listing. Okay, so we'll have 2 files. Event listing Livewire component and event listing blade file, right? So the event listing should have a table. So let me quickly add the markup. Okay, so I have this basic markup, and if I try to render this component, I'll go into the home blade, and outside the card body I will do Livewire. Let's see, how do we do this? Event listing, fresh, right, and we have the table. Why don't we just make a small change? I don't need the border. Okay, so now we need to somehow pass the data. I think this is something which we can do in the mount function of our component class. So event listing, I have a mount function. Let's have a public property called events. Sorry. Right, and in here events equals event query order by, let's just say, descending ID, so the latest ones will be on top, and anything else for now we will just do a get. We won't paginate for now, and instead of $events we will do this events equals this. So ideally now we should get this events inside our blade file in here. So let's try to loop it through. So add the rate for each $events as $event. Why don't I open up my migration? It will be easy. So allowed participants and this. Okay, so with this in place, I think if we refresh, we will have the listing. However, if we look at how things are being laid out, there is one thing which is, we know that this is reactive data, because whatever is going to change in here is going to be automatically passed on. However, in this page, I don't think we need this data to be reactive. Or if there is any particular kind of data in your component which you think is only required during the page load, and then there is not really any reactive behavior to it, you can also do one thing, which is instead of mount, right? Like, I'm just commenting out because I will continue to use this. However, you can also do something like $events equals event query, or rather event dot order by descending id get, and I'll pass this through the compact function. And if I refresh, okay, it says undefined variable events. That's a little strange. I think it should have got that. That's a little strange. Yeah, okay, so the compact function was not working, but ideally you will get this as well. The only difference between passing something in the render function to the blade versus in mount is the basic idea of reactivity. If because of some behavior, let's just say that my form was here, if I had some add form event which resulted in a reactivity, and this list will need to increase, then we should ideally look at this kind of an implementation and not this, because this means Livewire is not going to look at the reactivity of this particular data. Okay, and now the last thing is, I think for some reason the email is not coming up, so let's see what is the problem. Email is content. Oh, it's content email, which is a problem. Ideally the table name should have been contact email, contact email. So I'll change it here, contact email, I'll change it here, and during the listing should be contact email. That's why it was not visible. So I'll just do PHP artisan migrate refresh seed, and if I refresh, I get nothing. I need to do some basic bootstrapping or seeders, otherwise it is going to be a problem. One more event. Alright, so this is working. This is how our listing component is also done. So we have two components in place right now. One is I would say responsible for listing the events, whereas the other one is for add. One small little change which we can do is maybe where is the table, add this new thing which is td, and we'll have view. So we'll populate the view in here. We may even choose to have a delete function when we have, but yeah, right now we will work on view, which will allow a user to click, or the admin to click on it and see how many users have registered. Okay, but before we actually jump into the view, I wanted to first get the create and listing part complete. So instead of jumping into the view, why don't we handle the validations first, because that is also a key piece. So quickly, for the add form, I'll come over here and we will add the validation. So the validation can be done directly using this validate, and in a typical controller you would pass the request first and then the rules, but in here you can directly pass in the rules. This is going to be the first parameter. So let's just say I have this, which is required. All of these are actually required. Then minimum 3 should be email and numeric. Okay, now we have this, so obviously we need to show the error message somewhere, and that I will do inside event listing, no event add form, right, @error. We will have a span, let's just say, or a div maybe, error. Wow, what happened? And error should ideally work. Yeah, $error, no, should be message. Okay, so let's see. We'll try to submit the form. No property found for validation event name. That's a little weird. I think we have done some mistake. Event name is here and event add form is this the thing. Okay, so I think it is passing, which means it should be the public variable names, which should be the case instead of the other way around, obviously, because Livewire doesn't know the database part. So okay, that was correct. And in the blade I will change it to event name. So end error, refresh, and I can see this. Now the only thing is I'll add one line of CSS maybe. So $error, I expect the color to be red and font size, let's say, is 0.8 em, which will reduce the font size a bit. And right, this is fine. Maybe we'll do it 0.9, doesn't matter, but we get the gist, right? So I can now quickly copy this part. Why don't I assign it here and make it look a little better? Paste it here. Model name is contact name, contact email, and this is allowed participants. So if my form is empty, it will give me all these errors. If I fill this, it should have said minimum 3, or I have skipped that, is it? Yes, let me add that as well in the event name. And the best part is, you don't need to refresh, because you saw that I was making changes. So for example, this is 5. I save this file, I don't refresh, and I do save. It gives you the direct output. So yeah, I mean, one small little thing while doing the development, if you have filled up the form, you don't need to actually refresh while changing the background behavior of the component. So yeah, I think that's about it. One small, if we are doing so many things, why don't we do one small little thing as well, which is I'll have some padding, or the margin right this and a route home back. Okay, a back button basically. So yeah, this completes our current flow. We have validations in place, and whatever we add, we can see it here. And now the next thing that we are going to do is obviously work on the view in our next video. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.